In this video, I'm going to be discussing oogenesis and egg development, and I'm going to do my best to tie in the physiology behind what's going on while we're moving through the stages of mitosis and meiosis in egg development. And so to begin with, before a female is even born, during the embryo development, there are cells called oogoniums. And these oogoniums are diploid cells that will perform rapid mitotic divisions, while the other cells are also performing rapid mitotic divisions to create exact copies of themselves. And we get millions of oogoniums through mitosis. And what happens next is, still in the embryo stage, these millions of oogoniums will perform meiosis, but only partially. It's going to stop once we get to prophase 1 of meiosis. And in prophase 1, that's when we see the centrioles, the microtubule organizing centers, move to opposite sides of the cell. We see the nuclear membrane begin to disintegrate. We see the tetrads, the two homologous chromosomes, physically join together at chiasma, and we are about to begin recombination or shuffling of the alleles at the exact loci. And so we're going to stop there before the female is even born. And what's going to happen next is it's going to all stop for about 12 to 13 years after that point. And the oocytes all exist within the ovaries. And once a woman enters puberty, what's going to happen next is about one oocyte each month, primary oocyte, will resume meiosis. And when it does this, what we recall from meiosis is the fact that we have a diploid in meiosis 1 pass through and become two haploid daughter cells. So we're going to half the number of homologous chromosome pairs that we have, and the result of that will be two cells. So we're going to perform meiosis, and after meiosis occurs, one of the two daughter cells that are formed will have a lot less cytoplasm than the other one, and this is called a polar body. And these polar bodies will simply wither away and die within the ovary. And what will happen next is, in the process called ovulation, the non-polar body daughter cell that came, the haploid daughter cell that came from the primary oocyte parent cell, will enter the fallopian tube, and it will stay in the fallopian tube for about 1 month, and what will happen next will depend on whether or not intercourse occurs. And in the biology textbooks, they commonly refer to it as copulation. And so what we also see at this point within the fallopian tubes is that we stop meiosis once we get to metaphase 2, when the sister chromatids line up along the metaphase plate. And we'll also recall about meiosis 2 is that it's very similar to mitosis. We're essentially dividing a haploid cell and getting two non-identical is the main difference, but we are getting two haploid daughter cells from that parent. And what will happen in the fallopian tube is, if it's fertilized, sperm will swim up into the fallopian tubes and fertilize the egg. And if fertilization occurs, then meiosis 2 will resume and pass metaphase 2. The results of which will be the discharge of a second polar body, which will exit and simply die. And while there is a temporary state in between after this polar body is discharged, and that is referred to as an ovum. And the ovum is technically a diploid, but it is not yet fully a fertilized zygote, because to become the fertilized egg, the sperm and egg nuclei must fuse. So the two nuclear membranes will join together, and this will result in a diploid fertilized zygote. And so that is what a true fertilized egg is. An ovum is this intermediate stage that does exist for a certain amount of time in between this period. Now, what's going to happen next is this diploid zygote that was just formed within the fallopian tube will move down into the uterus, which is this region here. And on the uterus, we have these walls, which are referred to as endometrium. And the cell will anchor itself within the endometrium where it can resume embryo development. And so this is going to wrap up the bridge between oogenesis and egg development, as well as some anatomy for you guys. I hope you guys find it useful. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.